Congratulations on your UFL championship with the Stallions. And let's start with that. You were named the MVP of the league and you won your championship and you were named the game MVP. So um, start with that, man. Just how cool is it to call yourself another champion?
Yeah, it was a pretty cool feeling. Obviously, very special for me. A long, eventful season, and um, a lot to be thankful for. I think there's a lot of adversity within that year, and as a team, we found a way to overcome it. So having that moment, obviously winning the championship game, getting the MVP trophy from Tom Brady himself, it was pretty cool.
I was about to ask you that, man. You get it from probably, as they say, the greatest quarterback of all time to get that trophy from him, and of course, you being a quarterback yourself. Did he say anything to you? What was that like to get that trophy from him?
Yeah, well, I first met him off stage and he had just said, "Hey, Adrian, congratulations." And I was like, "This guy knows my name, unreal," you know. So that was pretty cool. We talked a little bit. He just said, "Great game, way to find a way to win, and best of luck in your future and things like that." And all those things, especially coming from him, was pretty special. Just getting to stand next to him and a guy I've seen on TV for years and years and years. Pretty surreal moment.
So, coming from, your time at Kansas State, well, obviously starting with Nebraska and of course Kansas State, you're a Big 12 champ and you sign with the Lions, but then you go to the UFL and of course play with Birmingham. So, um, what was that like going from, after your days of Kansas State, you play with the Lions for a little bit and then go to the UFL? Just talk to me about that timeline of, what transpired from your days in Detroit to, going to the UFL and playing with Birmingham.
Certainly, a lot happened within that time frame for me. Getting let go by the Lions, that wasn't easy. I ended up going on several workouts throughout the year. Different teams wanting to bring me in, work out, potentially sign me, potentially put me on a short list of guys if someone gets hurt. Really just staying in shape for that entire fall, and that was the first fall season where I hadn't been on a team, since I was maybe 6 years old. So it was pretty different experience for me, but it definitely gave me a sense of gratitude, for all the experiences that I've had, and also let me know that I really want to play football. I didn't enjoy sitting out, but stayed in shape, ready for an opportunity, and UFL was there. An opportunity that doesn't get given to everybody, and I wanted to make sure I made the most of it, and obviously take that and try and get back in the NFL. So that's really what it was all about for me, utilizing that platform and that league to try and get back to the NFL. And really that dream of reaching that level and of continuing to play ball never stopped. There was never any doubt that was ultimately going to happen.
And for you to, now understand that, playing in the UFL, right? There's obviously opportunities for you to hopefully get to the NFL. I saw that I forgot which team signed, I think it was the Browns or whoever signed somebody as a defensive end from one guy in the UFL. And so when you see that, and I'm sure you probably saw the video of Wade Phillips talking to the St. Louis Battlehawks guy, I think the tight end Jordan Taylor, if I remember his name right, saying that, hey, the NFL people that I know, you're gonna, I'm gonna make sure that they know your name. And so, what is it like when, yeah, it's not the NFL per se, but you're still playing with guys that can make it to that level? So, what is it like to, yeah, it's not the NFL, but you're still playing football, sharpening your skills to hopefully, as you mentioned, get to that point.
Yeah, well, and something that's unique about the UFL is everyone that's in that league has spent time in the NFL in some way, shape, or form. There's former first round picks, there's former third round picks, and guys who spent 5 years in the NFL, practice squad guys, and guys like me too. I was the only rookie per se on my team. Everyone else had multiple years of experience in the NFL, and it's kind of, we call it professional JUCO, like it's kind of like a bounce back, and that's where we're all at. All have that goal of reaching the NFL. So everyone has a reason for being there, and it was pretty cool to hear these different experiences and stories and kind of their why. And even some guys are 28, 29, and they may not get that shot in the NFL again, but they want to finish their career on their own terms. And so it's interesting that way, and I think it's definitely a good um, kind of good comparison for me. Obviously, like you said, not the NFL, but a great league to develop and get more film and prove that you have the talent and the skill to play at that level.
And for you, when you look at it in terms of just the journey, and as you mentioned, the rookie, right? Obviously Nebraska, you were the starting quarterback, and then Kansas State, you were both those leaders there in both programs. And you talk about, being the rookie, if you will. What was that like to step into a role where, you were the rookie compared to Nebraska and Kansas State? You were the veteran and people looked up to you. So what was maybe that difference or transition, if you will, to kind of go from the veteran to the rookie?
Yeah, I pulled back on my experiences from Kansas State, where you go into a place and you're the new guy. I kind of felt like that was a similar situation for me. And so in that situation, you go in and you prove yourself. You don't start telling people what to do, start stepping up as just the guy. Like, no, you have to earn that. And so that was my approach from day one. I wanted to earn everybody's respect. I wanted to show people what I could do on the field, what I could do in the meeting room, and just the consistent person and player that, I wanted to become. I think it's really that simple, and the rest of it kind of takes care of itself over time. And obviously, as we start playing games and we start winning games and doing those type of things, it's a natural progression.
And I'll ask because, the UFL has a lot of, different rules in terms of the kickoff and the 2 to, 3, 4 point conversion, depending on how far you go back. Is that more fun for you, if you will? Or obviously it's, a lot of a big adjustment from college football and what the NFL does, but, was that kind of interesting to be able to, do 2, 3, 4 point conversions and, kind of change up your game style a little bit?
Yeah, it made it fun. It made it a little bit more fun. And I think even the NFL this year is adopting an old XFL kickoff rule. There's certain things that I think the UFL does that makes it a better product for the person at home watching. I think it makes it a little bit more fun. Like you said, the 1, 2, and 3 point conversions. There's no kicking extra points, but that also makes it a 9 point game, a one possession game. So everyone's kind of in the game. It makes it just that much more interesting, I think. And for me, it's just football. All the other stuff's the same, the way you prepare, the way you play on the field, except when after you score a touchdown, you don't get to run to the sideline. You got to, okay, what are we going to do for this 2 point conversion, which made it fun, more reps, like kind of feels like you have a little bit more control there offensively.
And just to look back at your season specifically, I think, yeah, 15 touchdowns, if I remember right, and a really good touchdown interception ratio. I think like 1,700 yards, whichever. You can go down the line in terms of the stats, and to be able to have success in year one. And you said preparation is big, and Coach Kleiman talked about it all the time. Preparing, was the big thing for you guys when you were there. Did you kind of take that with you, into the UFL, where preparing and to be able to have the success you did, in your first year in the UFL?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think I'm a better player now than I was at K-State, and I was a better player at K-State than I was at Nebraska. And I think a lot of that's because of the learned lessons along the way. And Coach Kleiman was huge in that. He played a huge role. I mean, he sat down with us quarterbacks every week, and that might not sound like a big deal, but for a head coach, that's a lot, and he'd sit down and watch tape with us and teach us about other defenses and the game plan and why they're doing this and that. And I think the lessons that I was able to learn from him in that, and the importance of preparation and just how to prepare. I think he does such a great job with all of those things. And it definitely gave me a boost and made me a smarter football player. And I think, if a team were to turn on my tape from K-State and the UFL, I'm a much better player. And I give Coach Kleiman a lot of credit for that.
Now, let me ask, now, do you think it was because of course, he had Trey Lance, he had Carson Wentz, obviously, 2 top 5 picks, one and three. So, to learn from a guy like Coach Kleiman and the success that he's had, at North Dakota State, and then of course recruiting you there at Kansas State, and to see the development of yourself, and he obviously had great moments at Kansas State, of course, a lot of them, especially the Big 12 championship. But what did you take away mostly from your time at Kansas State, whether it was Coach Kleiman or Colin Klein or Deuce or whoever that was? what did you take away from that experience to just maybe that just always stuck in the back of your head where, hey, I can do this and take this with me later down the road?
Yeah, I think what we alluded to earlier, the preparation is definitely a big piece of it. Learning that from Coach Kleiman, and just how to prepare and just the intricate details. But I'd also like to shout out Coach Tremaine Carroll, the strength coach. I think he is maybe the best leader I've ever been around. And just talking about a consistent guy, a guy who helps shape that culture. Um, I love being a part of it. I absolutely love being a part of it. And I think he taught me, you can still be respected without being a jerk. I'll keep it PG. You know what I mean? Like, he is the man. He's just consistent. Everybody respects him and everybody loves him. And that is a very rare, rare, rare thing. And it's not because he sugarcoats anything. He always tells you the truth. He's transparent. But I think it's just because of how consistent he is, that he really gets that respect and that love from the players. And, I really tried to take his method and obviously with being myself, try and transform that into my own leadership abilities. And I think he taught me so much just from leading by example, just seeing what he does on a daily basis.
Now, for you going into the off season and calling yourself a champ and adding to your ring mantle, what is it like now? Because some people might not know what the off season's like in terms of going into next year, and so what does that look like in terms of the off season, starting next season, or hopefully an NFL team gives you a call as well. So what is that transition period like as you guys hit the off season now?
Yeah, well, right now it's just about training. I took this last week off a bit, just did more mobility and light strength training, and now this week I'm getting back into the routine of lifting every day, of throwing at least 3 times a week, and being ready for that call. Training camp will start at the end of July. Obviously, the NFL preseason is in August, and that call could happen at any moment. So for me, that's my mindset, making sure I stay ready, continue to get better. And you never know when that opportunity is waiting for you.
So let me ask if of course you want the goal to be the NFL team, will you go back to the UFL next year with Birmingham, or is it contract based? What's that process like too? Because I know it's so new.
Yeah, no, so the UFL contracts, the way it works is basically they're 2-year deals. And they would have my rights, but they only have rights through, the tier below the NFL and the professional circuit. So that's the CFL, and the UFL. So I couldn't go play in Canada next year if I wanted to or something like that. And truthfully, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I would do in that situation because the goal for me is the NFL, and I feel like after this past season, with how we performed as a team and obviously myself individually, I feel like that opportunity will be there. So that's the plan for now. It's hard to say how I'll feel in 6 months from now, but for now, that's how I feel.
Now, Adrian, I'll ask you this too, because of course I imagine you watch K State and obviously going to see Avery Johnson. Everybody's of course excited to see what he can do, and kind of showed that in the Pop Tarts Bowl and had a little bit of his moments this past year with him and Will. And obviously, I know how you and Will, really respected each other last year, 2 years ago now, which is crazy. But just when you look at this team now, and it's Avery's team, he's got the keys to the program. How excited are you just to be able to watch him grow as a quarterback? And you were in his spot at one point where you were a sophomore and still gaining traction. So what excites you about this team with Coach Kleiman, obviously hitting the portal and all that kind of stuff? What excites you most about this upcoming year?
Yeah, well, obviously Avery is a stud. He's got all the tools and the gifts that you could ask for in a quarterback, and I'm really excited to see him progress. I think that's what's so exciting about young players is they have this limitless type of potential, and Avery's one of those guys. And what's really cool is Coach Riley and Coach Kleiman. I think they're going to do a great job because they get it. They get how the culture needs to be, what leadership looks like, and how to put their players in successful situations. And so I think Avery did the right thing by picking K-State. I mean, I remember when he was getting recruited, I was obviously there, and he had offers from everywhere in the country. He could go anywhere he wanted. And I'm thankful, just as a guy from the outside, I'm thankful he picked K-State, because Coach Kleiman, they'll get him right and they'll get the team right. And I'm excited to see what it looks like. And obviously, some playmakers are going to need to emerge. It'll be interesting to see how some of these other young guys progress. That's always the question going into each new year is who are the guys that are going to step up? Guys leave, seniors leave, leadership leaves. Who's going to step up as a leader and who's going to step up and make plays when you need them?
Adrian, probably one last thing I'll ask you. You look back at your time with Birmingham, and I guess I'll ask it this way. Did you expect any of that to happen when you first get there? I know Birmingham's won 3 in a row, I think, or whatever it is. So obviously,
Yeah.
you've kept that going. So I know it's kind of a loaded question, but did you expect all of that to happen in year one?
Honestly, I went into the UFL season with no expectation. I was there with a chip on my shoulder, obviously had some individual goals. And as a team, I can tell you that we did expect to do that. We expected to get to the championship game and win the championship. They had won 2 the year before and the year before that. So the whole goal was to three-peat. But the Tom Brady thing, winning the MVP in the regular season, winning the championship game, all of that. For me, I think it's impossible to think that far ahead. I really was just putting one foot in front of the other and just focusing on that week because that's all I know how to do in order to be successful. That's how it's worked for me. And so to kind of look back at it and be really happy with what I did and what the team was able to accomplish, it's special. But did I know or could have I predicted it? I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. So I really tried not to think about it.
So, well, one thing I was thinking about it because, of course, watching the game, of course, you're playing against your former guy in Cade. So,
yeah,
like to be able to, obviously suit up for the same team together and then, playing the championship against each other. So, did you guys exchange any words after the game, before the game? What was that like?
oh yeah. Well, funny enough, Kate actually lived in the same house as I did. So he was in our Airbnb with another one of my former teammates, Garrett Nelson, who played at Nebraska. And both of them were on the Brahmas. So I was playing both of them, my roommates, in the championship game. So I was hearing it all week. You know what I mean? It wasn't after the game, we were probably all relieved just to be done with it. So we didn't have to, have that tension in the house. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, obviously, to share that moment with them. They were both very happy for me, Kate especially, and I'm happy he got that opportunity and hope he definitely deserves it.
Absolutely, Adrian. I'm trying to think of, man, I know I've said it last question twice, but is there anything else that I'm missing from your UFL season, from your time at Kansas State, the Tom Brady anything that I'm missing that you'd like to add?
I think that hit it. What's really cool for me is just to see the continued support, from Kansas State, the football community there, Manhattan. Obviously Nebraska does the same, and just as a former player at the college level, at least, it means a lot. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to me. And so for the people that support and that reach out to me and do those type of things, it's special, because that time flies. We all know it. But man, it's really cool to share that with my family. My little brother sees it all over social media and means a lot to me. So that's really it.
Well, you know what? Okay, I promise. How many text messages did you have after the game? Probably like 500, I imagine,
A lot,
or
a
that.
lot. Yeah. I couldn't count it for you. Like too many, but again, thankful, like that's a blessing.
Awesome. Well, Adrian, if that's everything, man, I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for doing this, and obviously, congratulations on winning the MVP and hopefully even more in the NFL. Let's hope.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah.